interest is, for me, it's not the way we conceptualize or the way it's important in our work, is there's one core variable of attitudes towards science. And those segments that we find, or the different groups that we find in Switzerland, and which have also been found in other countries, they differ with regards to interests in science. So interest is one of the defining variable which explains differences between these groups. If you know what groups exist and how they differ with regards to interest, and also with regards to other variables or other attitudinal structures, and also the way they behave and the way they look for information, for example. And what we find for Switzerland is that there are 4 different groups, 4 different clusters. We have a cluster which we call the science files. These are the ones which are really highly interested in science and generally very, very positive towards science. We have then a second group which is quite similar. We call them critically interested. They also show high interest, but they are a little bit more critical towards science. We have a large cluster which we call the passive supporters. It's kind of the mainstream. They show medium interest. And then we have a smaller 4th cluster, which we call the disengaged, which have the lowest interest in science. Interest is something different compared to science motivations, also compared to science identity. With regards to science motivation, I think that motivations kind of lie behind interest. So I can be interested in science, for example, because I need scientific information for my schoolwork, my homework, whatever. So the motivation why I'm looking for information about science is an element, or is a preceding element of why then science suddenly interests me in that situation, for example. And regarding identity, I think to me identity is something that is that is constructed over a longer period of time, and which also has to do with what kind of beliefs I have, what kind of values I have. So it's a more general construct, and it's a more stable trait of an individual person as well, I think. And interest, for example, can change more quickly depending on what situation you're in.